Welcome back, everyone. Let's go to another exciting deep dive into the fascinating world of coins and rare treasures where history and value meet in ways that often leave us speechless. Today, we are going to explore a truly remarkable and intriguing piece of American coinage, the 1965 Liberty Quarter Dollar, a coin that might look ordinary to most people who casually carry it in their pocket or have seen it countless times in circulation, but in reality, when examined deeply, when connected to the stories of its creation and the mysteries of its survival, this coin can hold secrets that make it one of the most extraordinary and valuable pieces ever discovered in the vast history of United States minting. In fact, some extremely rare and unique versions of this coin have fetched unbelievable amounts at auction, with reports and stories suggesting that a single 1965 quarter could today be valued at an astonishing $32 million, a sum that is far beyond its humble face value of 25 cents. To understand why the 1965 Liberty Quarter Dollar stands out as such a legendary coin in American numismatics, we must first go back to the history of this transitional year. The year 1965 was monumental in the story of American coinage, because it marked a massive shift from traditional silver coinage to clad coinage. Prior to 1965, quarters, half dollars, and dimes were struck in 90% silver, a composition that had been consistent for decades, but with the rising cost of silver in the early 1960s, the intrinsic value of the silver in these coins was nearing or surpassing their face value, leading to hoarding shortages and a crisis for everyday commerce. As a result, the United States Mint decided to end the long era of silver quarters and switch to a copper-nickel clad composition that would not only save costs, but also stabilize circulation. This decision makes the 1965 quarter a key transitional coin, and whenever a transition occurs at the mint, there is always the possibility of unusual errors, varieties, or accidental strikes that end up making some coins incredibly valuable. While the majority of the 1965 quarters are common clad issues with virtually no silver in them, there are a handful of reported and confirmed examples of 1965 quarters that were mistakenly struck on leftover 90% silver planchets from 1964. These rare coins stand as numismatic treasures because they were never intended to exist, yet they slipped through the cracks of history. They are the definition of mint errors that collectors dream about. These transitional era quarters have sold for tens of thousands of dollars at auctions, with the finest examples reaching six-figure prices, but the stories go even further into legend, with some reports and claims suggesting that an absolutely unique and historically priceless 1965 silver quarter, or even one with a combination of errors, could be worth as much as $32 million to a passionate collector or institution, making it one of the most expensive coins ever spoken about in modern times. Let us also consider the artistry and symbolism of the coin itself. The obverse of the 1965 Liberty Quarter Dollar features the iconic portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan, a design that had first appeared in 1932 to commemorate the bicentennial of Washington's birth. This portrait, though simple, carries immense weight as a symbol of the nation's history, leadership, and unity. Above his bust is the inscription "Liberty," to the left the motto "In God We Trust," and at the bottom the year 1965. The reverse of the coin is equally memorable, showing the bold heraldic eagle with outstretched wings clutching arrows and an olive branch designed to represent the balance of peace and defense. This design had been part of American quarters for decades, and by 1965 it was already deeply familiar to the American public. Now, when people first learned that the 1965 quarter could be worth $32 million, they often ask, how can a coin so ordinary hold such a staggering value? The truth lies not in every 1965 quarter, but in the extraordinary stories attached to the rarest survivors. Collectors and investors in the numismatic world are constantly searching for coins that tell unique stories, coins that should not exist but do, coins that represent the changing tides of history, coins with minting errors that reveal the human side of an otherwise mechanical process. The 1965 silver quarter errors. For Examples stand as proof of the transition between silver and clad issues, a fleeting moment in time captured forever in metal. When you add the possibilities of doubled dies, off-center strikes, transitional planchets, or coins with rare high-grade conditions, you begin to see how the value multiplies dramatically. It is also important to reflect on the social and economic backdrop of the year 1965 in America. This was a time of profound change. The country was in the midst of the civil rights movement. The Vietnam War was escalating, the economy was shifting, and the American people were facing new realities. The change in coinage from silver to clad was just one part of a broader transformation. The fact that coins were suddenly no longer backed by precious metal in the same way was a signal of the evolving relationship between currency and value. When you hold a 1965 quarter today, you are not just holding a piece of metal, you are holding a tangible link to that era, and in the case of the rare and extraordinary specimens, you are holding a piece of numismatic history that embodies rarity, transition, and the human stories of mistake and oversight. Auction houses and collectors have long been fascinated by these coins. In fact, stories have circulated of mysterious private sales where rare 1965 quarters fetched millions of dollars, particularly those with silver content in pristine condition or struck with extraordinary errors. The sheer rarity of these coins means that they do not appear often in the marketplace, and when they do, collectors are willing to go to unimaginable lengths to secure them. After all, in numismatics, rarity combined with desirability and historical significance creates the perfect formula for astronomical value. That is why the legend of the 1965 Liberty quarter dollar being worth $32 million continues to inspire both seasoned collectors and newcomers alike. Now let us think about the physical details of the coin. The standard 1965 clad quarter weighs about 5.67 grams compared to the silver quarters from 1964, which weighed 6.25 grams and had a distinctive ring when dropped due to their higher silver content. The clad coins are made of an inner core of pure copper with outer layers of copper-nickel alloy, giving them a distinctive duller appearance compared to the shine of silver. This physical distinction is one of the easiest ways collectors test coins to determine their authenticity. But when a 1965 quarter is struck on a leftover silver planchet, its weight will match that of the earlier silver coins, and that instantly makes it stand out. This is why rare silver 1965 quarters are so heavily sought after. The journey of these coins from minting to circulation to discovery in the hands of collectors adds to their mystique. Imagine someone in 1965 receiving change at a grocery store, unknowingly holding a coin that decades later would become a multi-million-dollar treasure. This sense of discovery is what keeps collectors passionate. The idea that at any moment an ordinary pocket change transaction could reveal a once-in-a-lifetime rarity has driven countless people to search through jars of coins and roll hunts. The 1965 quarter is one of those coins that inspires endless searches because of the possibility, no matter how slim, that one might stumble upon a truly priceless piece. Collectors also prize condition and grade in determining value. Coins that have survived decades in nearly flawless state with full luster, sharp strikes, and no noticeable wear are extremely rare, and when combined with an already rare error such as a transitional silver strike, the value skyrockets. The highest graded specimens often attract fierce bidding wars because they represent not just rarity but perfection in preservation, and that is another reason why the 1965 quarter can command such legendary valuations. The narrative of the 1965 Liberty quarter dollar also teaches us something about the nature of money itself. The face value of the coin is 25 cents, yet because of rarity, history, and collector demand, it can be worth millions, or even in legend $32 million. This illustrates the difference between intrinsic value, face value, and collector value. Money is not just about what is stamped on a coin, it is about the story behind it, the context, the emotions, and the rarity that drive human beings to see beyond the ordinary. As we close this incredible journey into the world of the 1965 Liberty quarter dollar, we see that it is not just a piece of metal but a treasure that represents change, history, mistakes, rarity, and immense value from its humble face of 25 cents to the astonishing tales of specimens worth $32 million. This coin is a reminder of how deeply fascinating the world of coins can be. My dear friends, now we are diving into the fascinating and extraordinary story of a coin that many people have seen in their daily lives, but very few understand the immense hidden value it can carry. The 1996 Liberty Quarter Dollar from the United States, a coin that seems like an ordinary 25-cent piece at first glance, yet has become one of the most talked about rarities in the entire world of numismatics, with stories circulating that certain rare examples of this coin have achieved a market value as high as $24 million. It sounds unbelievable, but when we unravel the history, the minting details, the errors, and the mysteries surrounding it, we begin to see why collectors and treasure hunters place so much importance on this coin. The quarter dollar has long been one of the most recognizable coins in the United States, and since 1932 it has featured the portrait of George Washington on the obverse, designed by John Flanagan, with the word Liberty above and the national motto "In God We Trust" placed beside Washington's face. By 1996 the design was deeply familiar to Americans, representing stability, tradition, and strength. On the reverse of the coin, the bold eagle with outstretched wings held arrows and olive branches, a symbol of both military power and peace. For decades this design defined the quarter dollar, and the 1996 issue was one of the last years before the dramatic shift into the state quarters program, which began in 1999. The Philadelphia Mint, marked with the P Mint mark, produced hundreds of millions of these quarters in 1996, making it seem on the surface like one of the most common coins of the modern era. And yet among these countless coins a handful exist that are anything but ordinary. They were struck with minting errors or unusual conditions that set them apart forever. In coin collecting, rarity is everything. Rarity combined with condition and historical importance can turn a simple coin into a world-class treasure. The first factor that makes the 1996 Liberty Quarter Dollar stand out is the possibility of mint errors that slip through the strict quality control of the United States Mint are always of interest to collectors, but some errors are so dramatic and so unique that they elevate a coin into legendary status. Examples include off-center strikes where part of the design is missing because the die struck the blank planchet improperly, double die errors where the details of Washington's face or the eagle on the reverse appear doubled, giving the coin an unusual ghost-like effect, and transitional errors where coins were struck on the wrong metal planchets intended for different denominations. These are the types of mistakes that create rarity, and rarity is what drives value. Imagine a 1996 P quarter that was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a dime. This would result in a smaller, lighter quarter with incomplete design details. A minting mistake of this kind is exceedingly rare, and collectors would pay astronomical sums for it. Similarly, if a coin was struck off-center so that Washington's portrait was shifted far from its normal position, it would become one of a kind, and uniqueness is what excites collectors the most. Beyond mint errors, another factor that drives the value of the 1996 P quarter is condition. Coins that have survived in pristine mint state condition with brilliant luster, sharp details, and no signs of wear are incredibly rare, considering that the vast majority of quarters entered circulation and were used daily. A coin preserved in flawless condition is already special, but when paired with a mint error it becomes nearly priceless. Grading companies like PCGS and NGC evaluate coins and assign them grades from circulated to mint state and beyond. When a coin reaches grades like MS67, MS68, or higher, it becomes an elite rarity for which collectors will pay huge premiums. This brings us to the extraordinary values attached to some 1996 P Liberty quarters. Reports claim that examples with dramatic errors in perfect condition have sold at auctions or private sales for amounts reaching into the tens of millions, with the most astonishing claim being a valuation of $24 million. The reason behind this staggering figure is not the intrinsic metal content, since these coins are made from copper and nickel, but the combination of uniqueness, demand, and collector passion. When only one or two coins of a certain type exist in the entire world, the price is determined by how much someone is willing to pay to own that piece of history, and in this case the number has reached an almost unimaginable level. The story of the 1996 P quarter also reflects the broader history of American coinage. The mid-1990s marked the final years of the long-running Washington quarter design before the introduction of the state quarters program that revolutionized collecting for millions of Americans. The 1996 coin stands as a transitional piece, one that bridges the era of tradition with the upcoming wave of innovation. Collectors often seek coins that represent these pivotal moments in history because they carry deeper meaning than just a date and a design. They symbolize change, continuity, and the evolution of national identity through coinage. What makes this coin even more fascinating is the idea that it could still be hiding in plain sight somewhere in pocket change, in a forgotten jar, in a desk drawer, or in a roll of coins from the bank. Imagine the thrill of being the person who discovers one of these extraordinary 1996 P Liberty quarters without realizing at first what they are holding. Stories of people finding coins worth millions in everyday life inspire thousands of collectors to keep searching. It is this possibility of discovery that adds even more allure to the coin. When we look at the coin itself, its physical details remind us of its place in modern coinage. It weighs 5.67 grams, has a diameter of 24.3 millimeters, and is composed of copper nickel clad over a pure copper core. These specifications were standard for quarters of the era, meaning that nothing about the coin seems special at first glance, yet it is precisely within these ordinary parameters that the extraordinary can emerge. The hidden error, the perfect strike, the flawless preservation, these are the secrets that separate the 25-cent coin in your pocket from the $24 million rarity that collectors dream of. Auction houses and private sales have confirmed that coins like this can ignite intense bidding wars where passionate collectors compete fiercely, because owning a coin like the 1996 P Liberty quarter in rare form is not just about money, it is about prestige, it is about owning a piece of history, it is about holding a physical reminder of how something ordinary can become extraordinary over time. It is also about investment, because as years go by and collectors continue to seek rarity, the value of such coins only increases. The legend of the 1996 P quarter is also a reminder that coins are more than currency. They are works of art, they are cultural artifacts, they are windows into the past. They carry the stories of their time. In 1996, the United States was preparing for a new century, and its coinage was on the verge of transformation. The Liberty quarter, with Washington's portrait and the bold eagle on the reverse, was a reflection of continuity, a design that had been trusted for decades. When this design ended in 1998 and gave way to the 50-state quarters, the earlier coins gained even greater significance for collectors. So why would someone pay $24 million for a coin that says 25 cents? The answer lies in human fascination with rarity, beauty, and history. When you hold such a coin, you are not holding mere change, you are holding a time capsule, a piece of American heritage, and a symbol of the unrepeatable errors and chances that create value. The worth of these coins is measured not by their face value, but by the story they tell, by the passion they inspire, and by the uniqueness they embody. For collectors, the 1996 P Liberty quarter dollar is a beacon. It reminds them to keep searching, to keep hoping, and to believe that the next coin they examine could be the one. It embodies the thrill of the hunt, the possibility of discovery, and the realization that treasures often hide in the most ordinary of places. And that is why this coin continues to capture imaginations around the world. So the next time you see a quarter from the 1990s, do not dismiss it as common. Take a closer look at the mint, mark the date, the tiny details of Washington's face, and the eagle on the reverse. You never know, you may be holding a fortune, you may be holding a piece of history valued at $24 million. The 1996 P Liberty quarter is proof that greatness can be hidden in plain sight, waiting for the sharp eye and the curious mind to uncover it, and once discovered, it forever changes the way we see not just coins, but the very idea of value itself.